In the glittering heart of London society, where reputation outweighed breath itself, Lady Evelina Harrow entered the Ashbourne Winter Gala with courage trembling beneath her silk gloves. Snow clung to the hem of a modest gown, melting against the marble floor like silent tears. Tonight was her chance, perhaps her final one, to prove she still belonged among the aristocracy who now regarded her as little more than a scandal-wearing satin. Whispers greeted her before any friend could. "The bankrupt heiress," they hissed. "Her father lost everything. A pity she still shows her face." She lifted her chin, though fear coiled tight within her chest. Her mother had once told her dignity could be armor. Tonight it felt like thin lace against arrows. She caught her reflection in a mirrored pillar, golden brown curls pinned neatly, cheeks flushed with anxious hope. She looked fragile beside jeweled debutantes who glittered like crowns. Still, she forced herself forward, until Lord Benedict Fairfax approached with a charm she remembered all too well. "Lady Evelina," he said, bowing smoothly. "May I claim this first dance?" Relief warmed her. Someone she once cared for. Someone who had once sworn devotion. She placed her hand in his, believing kindness had not entirely abandoned her. But instead of leading her to the dance floor, he stopped in the center of the ballroom. The music faltered. Conversations quieted. His hold tightened. "Friends," he proclaimed, voice carrying like a cruel trumpet, "Lady Harrow returns to us even after her family's ruin. Admirable, is it not? How she still seeks a match without a dowry." Laughter scattered like shards of ice. Evelina's breath caught painfully. Benedict leaned close, smiling as if delivering a compliment. "No man here will rescue you from disgrace," he whispered. "You should have stayed invisible." Her vision blurred. Escape was impossible under the weight of 100 delighted stays. Heat flooded her face, shame laid bare before the world. Then a single command split the air. "Enough!" The voice was steel dipped in fire. Every gaze swung to the grand staircase, where stood Adrian Blackwell, Duke of Ravenscar. Snow-dusted hair, a coat dark as midnight, posture carved of defiance. He was a legend brought to life. Some called him hero, others traitor. All feared him. He descended with deliberate calm, and the crowd parted like a tide avoiding rocks. Reputation alone could silence them. The Duke required only a look. Stopping before Evelina, he offered his gloved hand. "Lady Harrow," he said, voice low enough to be intimate yet loud enough to condemn cruelty, "will you honor me with this dance?" Gasps fluttered like startled birds. Benedict stiffened. Evelina stayed, unsure if she saw mockery or something startlingly close to respect. "I do not understand why you would offer such assistance," she breathed. "No one with a heartbeat may ignore injustice," he replied. "Permit me to restore what cowards tried to break." His words wrapped around her like warmth against winter wind. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. The musicians hesitated, then resumed with a trembling waltz. He guided her into motion, steady, strong, infuriatingly sure of himself. "You did not deserve their cruelty," he murmured as they turned beneath the chandelier's glittering crown. "You know nothing of my disgrace," she whispered. "My name is nothing but ash." "Then rebuild from flame," he said. "I have seen ruins rise higher than palaces." She looked up at him, truly seeing the man behind the gossip, intelligence sharpened by battle, and eyes that hid storms. His reputation was a puzzle wrapped in danger. "I have heard rumors," she said carefully, "that you tread perilously close to treason." His jaw tightened, though his grip did not falter. Rumors entertained those safe from their bite. Their steps slowed as the waltz reached its end. When he released her, there was a hesitation, small, but enough to send a tremor through her heart. "I thank you," she whispered. He inclined his head slightly. A word of caution. Those who prey upon the fallen often find themselves hunted. His gaze flicked toward Benedict, whose swagger had dissolved into pale discomfort. "Consider this a warning." Before she could respond, a cluster of jeweled ladies drifted near like perfumed vipers. "How bold of you," one crooned, eyes glittering with malice. "Dancing with the Duke of Ravenscar." Another leaned in, voice dripping sweet venom. "Be careful, Lady Harrow. He carries a secret, one that could topple the crown itself. Evelina's pulse tripped. She turned to seek explanation, but the Duke was already striding away, his coat sweeping behind him like a shadow determined to outrun the light. The orchestra swelled again. Laughter resumed. The crowd forgot her as quickly as they had savored her humiliation. But Evelina stood rooted in place, shame slowly giving way to a different sensation, an unsettling mix of fear and fascination. Her fingers still tingled from his touch, the ghost of his presence refusing to fade. She rubbed her hands together to steady herself, but instead found longing staring. A servant brushed past, nearly jostling her aside as though she were part of the decor. The reminder stung. She retreated toward an alcove near the musicians, trying to gather composure. Candlelight flickered along her bodice, painting her in shifting gold. She drew a slow breath, steadying the trembling in her chest. Why had he noticed her at all? A duke could dance with anyone. Why choose the woman society had decided to forget? And what was this whispered secret that shadowed his every step? Curiosity wound itself through her fear, threading hope where none should grow. If she was wise, she would keep distance. Yet even as she vowed it, she found her eyes searching for him in the crowd once more. Just once, Evelina slipped from the ballroom once the waltz concluded, craving distance from the whispers that clung to her like frost. The corridor beyond the gilded doors led toward Lord Ashbourne's conservatory, where moonlit glass framed winter roses and silver fountains dreamed beneath ice. Her breath misted as she reached the archway, grateful for the hush away from the glittering cruelty she had endured. Yet the echo of one voice followed, low, commanding, impossible to ignore. She turned, startled to find Adrian Blackwell approaching with resolute strides. "You should not wander alone," he said, his gaze traveling the corridor as though danger might lurk behind tapestries instead of gossiping nobles. "Solitude is safer than company," she answered, attempting poise. "Company is only a threat when it forgets its humanity." She opened her mouth but froze as he retrieved something from inside his coat. He extended his hand, revealing a delicate white rose unlike any she had ever seen. Its petals shimmered faintly, veined with pale gold. "It blooms only on my estate," he said, "cultivated to endure the harshest season." She hesitated. A gift from a duke, given to a disgraced lady, was a headline waiting to happen. "I cannot accept what would cause further scandal." "It is not a gift," he corrected. "It is a shield." The word stirred something in her chest. She reached, but her fingertips brushed his glove and a spark leapt between them. Bright, undeniable. She flinched, nearly dropping the bloom. He caught it, gently tucking it into her palm. "I ask only that you wear it," he said. "Tonight." Before she could answer, a laugh rang behind them, sharp as cracked ice. Lady Cassandra Whitford approached with two jeweled companions, eyes gleaming with delight and cruelty. "How charming," Cassandra said, gaze pinned upon the rose. "The Duke's charity extends to flowers." "It is merely a token," Evelina replied. "Oh, my dear, in the right hands, a token becomes declaration. Imagine Lady Harrow, penniless yet ambitious, capturing London's most elusive bachelor." Heat surged in Evelina's cheeks. "That is not." "Careful," Cassandra murmured. "The higher you climb, the more devastating the fall." Adrian's voice cut through. "If Lady Harrow falls, it will be because vipers cannot bear to see her rise." Cassandra's smile stiffened. She dipped into a curtsy. "Forgive us, Your Grace. We only meant to warn her. There are secrets surrounding you." "Rumors survive on fear," he said coldly. "Truth survives despite it." With a final venomous glance, Cassandra retreated. Evelina exhaled shakily. "She is not entirely wrong. You are whispered about." "I am aware," he replied. "Is it true," she asked quietly, "that your loyalty to the crown is suspect?" His gaze softened with weary honesty. "My family has enemies. Lies travel faster than justice." There was ache in his voice, buried, but real. "Then why protect me?" she whispered. "Because cruelty should never dictate truth," he said, "and because you appeared to expect no one would stand with you." The observation pierced her, terrifying and strangely hopeful. For years she had fought to seem unbreakable. That he saw through her facade so easily unsettled her. Suddenly the ballroom doors burst open. Lord Ashbourne strode into the conservatory, flanked by anxious nobles. "Your Grace," he said breathlessly, "a messenger has arrived. Urgent matters from the palace." Adrian straightened. He turned to Evelina, voice lower now. "Stay here a moment longer, where eyes are fewer." She nodded. He left with the host and entourage, footsteps fading into distant music. Evelina clutched the rare bloom to her chest. Its scent steadied her breathing. But peace shattered as a gloved hand seized her wrist. She gasped, turning to face Lady Margaret Selwyn, whose expression burned with fury beneath perfect curls. "You foolish girl," Margaret hissed. "Do you understand what you invite? The Duke is being watched. The crown fears him. Align with him and you drag your family into ruin." Evelina tore her hand free, voice trembling yet firm. "Then perhaps I shall learn to survive scandal." Margaret's mouth twisted. "If you value what remains of your mother's health and father's honor, step away before you lose everything." "What do you know?" Evelina asked. "Enough to warn you," Margaret snapped. "Enough to know you will regret the air you breathe if you continue this." With that, she vanished back through the doors. Trembling, Evelina pressed a hand to her throat, trying to steady the riotous beat beneath her skin. The rustle of silk from the ballroom felt distant, as though she stood in a different world, one where choices carried sharper edges. Her father's weary eyes flashed in her memory, his voice apologizing for the ruin he never intended. Could she risk that suffering? Her mother, too fragile to attend tonight, had hoped Evelina might secure a match that would spare them further shame. Yet he had offered protection without expectation. A man the world feared had been kind. Her gaze drifted to the rose again. It looked impossibly alive, glowing against her trembling fingers. A talisman or warning. She could not decide. Wind slipped through the conservatory's ceiling vents, stirring the petals and her uncertain resolve alike. She inhaled, and with that breath, something in her shifted, from fear toward cautious defiance. If society wished to watch her fall, she would not grant the satisfaction easily. She stepped forward, drawn by the pull of curiosity and something deeper, something dangerously like desire. And so she looked once more for the Duke, unprepared for the truth she was about to witness. Through a gap in the curtains, she caught sight of Adrian again. But he was not with Lord Ashbourne. He stood in the shadows with a hooded figure, neither servant nor noble. A sealed document exchanged hands, its red wax crest unmistakably royal. Evelina's heart stumbled. The Duke's secret was no harmless rumor. It was real, dangerous, and now she was entangled in it. The white rose seemed heavier against her palm, as though it carried a crown's burden. Evelina remained frozen after witnessing the secret exchange, the image of the Duke's hand passing that royal-sealed document burning into her thoughts. The conservatory's chill no longer calmed. It sharpened fear into clarity. Perhaps shadows had deceived her, but instinct insisted she had seen treachery unfolding. When she finally turned away, she nearly collided with Adrian himself, his presence startling as thunder. "You should not wander where eyes hunt," he said, his voice stripped of its earlier gentleness. "And you should not assume any right over my movements," she replied, dignity stretched thin. His gaze studied her, as though deciding whether she was threat or ally. "If they believe you matter to me, they will devour you," he murmured. "Do I?" The words escaped, unguarded. He did not flinch. "More than you understand." Her heart lurched. The white rose trembled in her grasp. "Then why abandon me after that dance? Why leave me to their ridicule?" "There were matters demanding my absence," he said, glancing toward the direction of that clandestine meeting. "Matters that would place you in peril if you knew more." "Yet I already am," she countered. "I deserve truth." He hesitated before nodding. "Walk with me." He guided her into a secluded library, its fire casting amber light along shelves heavy with history. The quiet embraced them. He pulled off his gloves, each movement measured, as if shedding armor. "My family once stood accused of treason," he began. "A fabrication crafted by those who profit from chaos. They poisoned our name. Only influence spared us from the noose. And now you seek to expose them, she said. He met her gaze. I hunt those who would fracture the realm. But until I have proof, the crown regards me as a threat. Evelina swallowed. And the message I saw exchanged. A fragment of evidence, he admitted. One that may reveal the architect of my father's ruin. Silence stretched, dangerous, intimate. I trust no one, he said quietly. Because trust has cost me everything. Her voice softened. Then why help me? Because cruelty must not prevail. And because I saw a woman refusing to break. Heat warmed her cheeks. For the first time in too long, she felt noticed, seen beyond disgrace. He stepped nearer, close enough that she felt his steady breath. You are stronger than the world allows, he said. I have had no choice, she answered. He lifted his hand, stopping just before touching her cheek, his restraint palpable. Tell me to step away, he whispered, before this becomes something neither of us can escape. But Evelina could not summon the lie. Why would I send away the man who defended me? His eyes darkened with desire and fear intertwined. The room shrank to the curve of his shoulder, the warmth in his stare, the unspoken promise between them. The white rose in her hand glowed in the fire's reflection, fragile yet enduring, like the hope she tried to deny. Voices suddenly erupted outside. The moment shattered. He withdrew a pace, every line of his body rigid again. They must not suspect us alone together, he said. If they believe you tied to me, they will strike at you to reach me. I can endure their cruelty. They would go further than cruelty, he insisted. You do not yet grasp the stakes. Then teach me, she said, voice trembling. Let me face truth, not ignorance. He looked away, fear shadowing his features. I would keep you safe, even if that means keeping you distant. I have suffered distance before, she said. It did not protect me. Her words seemed to wound him more than any blade. He stepped close again, not touching, but close enough that resistance felt impossible. This flower marks you as someone I should not risk caring for, he whispered. And yet you do, she said. He swallowed, torn. If the truth consumes me, I will not let it consume you. You underestimate me, she replied softly. A knock hammered the door before he could answer. A royal courier entered, bowing stiffly. Your Grace, the king commands your presence immediately. Adrian's guarded expression slammed back into place. He looked at Evelina once, something desperate flickering in his eyes, then followed the messenger into the corridor of watching suspicion. The door clicked shut. Evelina remained still, the fire crackling like a heartbeat too loud in the silence. She gazed down at the winter rose, petals white as innocence, veins glinting like gold threads of fate. What had begun as a gesture of protection now felt like a brand, marking her for battle she did not yet comprehend. She pressed the bloom to her chest, willing courage into her lungs. She had thought society's judgment her greatest enemy. Now she understood something far greater hunted the Duke, something with the power to destroy crowns and hearts alike. And she was already entangled, hopelessly, in both. As she stayed into the dancing flames, footsteps approached, hurried, sharp. Before she could hide the rose, Lady Corwin burst inside, eyes gleaming with the thrill of discovery. There you are, she sang, whispering in shadows. Truly, Evelina, one might think you were plotting something wicked. Her gaze landed on the rose. Triumph curled her lips. How interesting. Evelina forced calm. The Duke merely offered courtesy. Courtesy does not come wrapped in gold veins, Corwin hissed. You forget. You are prey here. The wolves have scented you. She swept away, leaving the stench of threat behind. Evelina's knees weakened. She sank into a chair, fingers trembling. Danger gathered on all sides, yet fear no longer smothered her. It sharpened resolve. She would not retreat into silence again. She would not allow whispers to dictate fate. A sudden draught extinguished one of the candles. Darkness thickened in the corner of the room. Evelina stiffened as a folded scrap of paper slipped beneath the door. Her pulse hammered as she approached, unfolding the message with reluctant hands. Two ink words waited, chilling her blood. He knows. The danger has only just begun. Evelina waited through days that stretched like a sentence, each one filled with unanswered questions and the memory of the Duke's gaze burning against her skin. The cryptic warning, "He knows," nested in her thoughts like a raven, calling dread with every beat of her heart. Invitations arrived from those hungry to witness her ruin. She accepted only one, the royal ball, where Adrian was expected to appear. If he would not come to her, she would seek him beneath the chandeliers of the crown itself. The palace gleamed beneath moonlight, windows blazing like constellations fallen to earth. Nobles spilled through its halls in shimmering gowns and tailored pride. Evelina stepped into the great ballroom with spine straight, every thread of her attire shouting dignity, though fear gnawed beneath. Music swelled, a swirling tide of violins, but she heard nothing except the wild hope that Adrian might find her. He did. The Duke of Ravenscar entered not as a suspect, not as a shadow, but as a storm in tailored black, so striking the crowd parted without command. His eyes locked onto Evelina instantly, as though he had been searching the whole night for her alone. He crossed the ballroom with unparalleled purpose. "You came," he said, the words rough with the strain of days unslept. "You vanished," she answered, pain threaded into her poise. His jaw flexed. "I would explain if walls didn't listen." She swallowed her plea. Before either could say more, a false smile and cold diamonds approached. "Lady Cassandra, scenting blood. How bold of you, Lady Harrow, to attend such a grand affair, and with your protector finally reappearing. Tell me, Your Grace, is she your newest scheme?" "Silence," Adrian snapped, voice a razor's edge. Gasps rippled. Cassandra recoiled, but victory glimmered in her gaze. She stepped aside, not retreating, merely allowing the room to witness what came next. Adrian turned back to Evelina. Fear and desire warred in his expression. "Walk with me." He led her toward the marble terrace. Starlight gilded his features, revealing exhaustion and determination etched into every line. "I have been hunting the crown's enemy," he said quietly, "and found that enemy sitting beside the throne." Evelina's breath stilled. "You have proof." His hand brushed the pocket nearest his heart. "Enough to shatter the kingdom's illusions. Enough to earn my execution if I fall." "And my involvement," she whispered. "Where do I stand in this?" "You should stand far from me." "But I refuse," she breathed, stepping closer. "Whatever has begun between us, I will not abandon it." His control fractured. He reached for her, then hesitated, as though the stars themselves would strike if he touched what he treasured. "Since the moment I saw you break and refuse to shatter," he whispered, "I have been lost." Her heart surged, wild as the wind. "Then do not let them take you from me." He closed the distance, their foreheads almost touching, breath mingling in fragile promise. Trumpets blared. The doors burst open. Royal guards stormed in like thunder made flesh. A herald's voice bellowed, "Adrian Blackwell, Duke of Ravenscar, by order of His Majesty, you are charged with treason against the crown." Evelina recoiled as steel hands seized the Duke. The crowd scattered back in horrified delight. Adrian did not struggle. His fury was too controlled, too cold. His gaze never left Evelina. "This is a lie," she cried, stepping forward, but Cassandra's grip clamped around her arm. "Stay silent," the venomous woman hissed, "unless you wish to share his fate." Adrian snarled, "Unhand her." Two guards forced him to his knees, chains clanking like final judgment. The winter rose nearly slipped from Evelina's bodice as her body shook with fury. Evelina tore free of Cassandra's hold and rushed toward him. The lead guard blocked her path. "Stand aside," she demanded, voice aflame. "You accuse a loyal man without trial." The guard scoffed. "Loyalty does not conceal classified documents." He yanked a sealed parchment from Adrian's pocket, the very proof meant to save him now damning him. Gasps swelled like storm winds. "Take him," the captain ordered. As they dragged him away, Adrian finally spoke, voice low, fierce, meant only for her. "Do not trust anyone, not even." A guard struck him, silencing the warning. "No." Evelina lunged again, but nobles stepped between her and the Duke, creating a wall of glittering cowardice. Her pulse hammered, every blood vessel screaming rebellion. The ballroom's golden splendor twisted into nightmare as Adrian vanished through the archway. The music died. The entire palace watched Evelina, some with pity, most with glee. Lady Margaret appeared behind her, voice slick with triumph. "I warned you. Now everyone sees the truth. You are his accomplice." Evelina spun, eyes blazing. "No, they will see the truth, that he is innocent, and I will prove it. Without allies." Margaret sneered. "Without power, you have nothing." Evelina lifted the winter rose from her bodice. Its hidden seam caught moonlight. With trembling fingertips, she pressed the center. The petals parted, and a sliver of paper emerged, concealed within the bloom. A ciphered message bearing the royal crest. The proof he risked everything to hide, he had given to her. Shock ripped through her like lightning. The weight of destiny pressed upon her shoulders, terrifying, undeniable. Margaret's eyes widened, sensing shift. "You foolish girl, what have you done?" Evelina stayed at the coded evidence, pulse roaring. Adrian's voice echoed in memory, rebuild from flame. She raised her chin. "I am done being afraid." God shouted commands down distant corridors. The palace churned with chaos. And Evelina Harrow, once the object of ridicule, stood rooted not in shame, but purpose. She clenched the rose and turned toward the doors, ready to challenge a kingdom. But before her first step, a shadow detached from the wall. A cloaked figure blocked her path, voice a serpent's whisper. "You should not have found that." Evelina's breath caught, panic warring with fierce resolve as the figure advanced, gloved hand outstretched, and whispered the final promise. "The hunt begins now." And she would not run. Snow pummeled the iron gates of Ravenscar as though the heavens demanded entry. Midnight bled into the horizon, each gust carrying urgency that matched the turmoil inside Eleanor's chest. She clutched the Duke's sealed letter, her final lifeline, in trembling fingers. The raven crest stared like an omen. Inside, shadows flickered as servants rushed in anxious silence. Eleanor had been ordered to stay hidden, but obedience felt like a luxury now that she had lost her name, her safety, her trust. Her father condemned her, her mother disowned her, and Lord Ashcombe's slander, traitor's daughter, spread like fire. A forged document, a fabricated letter, enough to make society a blade at her throat. Yet she lived because Adrian Blackwell, Duke of Ravenscar, had shielded her with his own body. Scandal enough to topple reputations. But the way he shouted her name, with fear and fury, had ignited a fragile blaze inside her. "I will protect you, no matter the cost," he had vowed. The door opened. Adrian strode in, snow melting in his black hair, breath sharp with cold and danger. His cravat hung torn, a cut along his cheek bled. "You should not be standing," he murmured. "Ashcombe has rallied the Queen's Guard. They hunt you." "And you," she whispered. "They already accuse me of treason." Her breath broke. He steadied her, hands warm, grounding. "You were a distraction," she said. "But now, I choose something beyond reputation," he interrupted, voice fierce. "I choose you." Another crash shook the door. "Open by order of the Crown." Adrian stepped before her. "There's a passage under the cellar. Ride to the border. I won't leave you. If they take you, they will silence you forever." "Then tell me truthfully, will you live if I run?" she demanded. A flicker of raw pain cracked his composure. "I do not know." He dragged her close. "I would burn the kingdom to keep you safe." "Then let me fight beside you." "If one must fall, let it be me," he whispered. "No," she breathed. "Let it be the lie." The door burst. Steel flashed. She seized his hand. Together they fled down hidden stays. Arrows clanged against stone as they plunged into the cellar, moonlit barrels looming. A figure stepped from shadows. "Lord Ashcombe, going somewhere, Your Grace." His pistol leveled at Adrian. "You are too dangerous to live." The shot fired. Adrian collapsed into Eleanor's arms. Blood spread hot beneath her fingers. "Eleanor," his voice thinned. "No," she whispered fiercely. "Stay." Ashcombe advanced. "Hand her over." She rose, blocking him. He is innocent, and I can prove you framed my family. She held the letter aloft. Stolen funds. Secret accounts. Your signature. Ashcombe's mask faltered. Seize her. Stand down. A new voice thundered. Commander Whitlock stormed in, sword drawn. Arrest Lord Ashcombe for treason. Guards hesitated, then obeyed. Chains clattered as Ashcombe fell. Eleanor knelt again, lifting Adrian's face. It's over. You can breathe. He whispered, Are you safe? Yes, she cried. Because of you. He smiled faintly. Then I have one. His fingers brushed her cheek. Any cost. You will not pay with your life. But his eyes closed. No, she gasped. He lives, Whitlock said, kneeling, but fading. We must move. He carried Adrian into the raging night. Snow swallowed their path. Eleanor ran beside them, holding Adrian's hand. Stay, she whispered. I cannot bear a world without you. His grip tightened, slight, but real. Dawn rose over Bordeaux Inn. A physician worked tirelessly. Eleanor never released Adrian's hand, breath caught between hope and dread. Finally, his lashes lifted. You live, she breathed. For you, he murmured. Tears spilled as she laughed. Your sacrifice saved the crown. Then the crown owes me, he teased, voice soft but alive. What would you claim? You, he whispered. Only you. Relief and love overcame Faye. She kissed him, the vow sealed in heartbeat and breath. No more shame, no more running. Only love, won through sacrifice, unbreakable forever. Later that evening, the storm calmed, as though the world itself paused to witness their fate. Adrian rested against blankets, pale but warm, breath strengthening with each hour. Eleanor sat beside him, fingers woven through his, not out of fear now, but devotion. Commander Whitlock returned with news. Ashcombe has confessed. His crimes run deeper than we imagined. You are both cleared. When the commander left, snowfall framed the window. Adrian studied Eleanor's face, memorizing every fragile, fierce detail. You should sleep. She shook her head. I will rest when you do. His smile was faint. Eleanor, earlier, in the cellar, you stood between me and death. Why? Because my heart chose you long before my courage did. Emotion flickered through him. You are braver than I. She touched the bandages at his chest. Strength is not measured by titles. And yet, he whispered, loving you is the only truth in my life that feels righteous. He pressed his forehead to hers. Marry me. For us. Her breath caught. Yes, she whispered. 1,000 times, yes. Snowflakes danced beyond the glass like blessings. Darkness had failed to claim them. Love had turned even ruin into triumph. Whatever battles awaited, they would stand together, duke and defiant heart, bound by a vow forged in winter and proven in blood.